Okay, so I'm gonna do this video. My eye is probably red, but I got something in it, and so it's just annoying me. And I've been rubbing it and trying not to rub it, but I'm gonna rub it anyway. But anyway, make sure you join our Discord. That's gonna be down in the description box below. If not, one of my videos will have it because I always put it in most of the videos. Sometimes I'll forget. But it's great to go there so that we can have lively discussions and things like that, which typically we do. Also on there, you'll find places for you to ask questions of me, and sometimes I do get those. And actually, someone did ask a question in the Ask HershNoeie section, and they wanted to know, very interested in your response to Amy Connor and her calling 911 on the bird watcher. Well, if you're on my Facebook, you kind of know how I feel, right? Because I've posted about this and other things that are going on. These are things that are shocking to me. And see, I'm rubbing it now, sorry, but I just need to. These aren't things that are shocking to me. Keep in mind, because there's another incident where this woman pushes her kid into a into some water, and she later says that it was a black man who did it, right? Um, I remember back when this woman called Amy Smith. I think her name was Amy Smith, right? Or Susan Smith. Susan Smith was her name. Susan Smith. She claimed the same thing, right? She claimed that it was some black men that pushed her kids off into this river or lake or something like that. But actually, it was her. She pushed her two kids off into that. And she did it because she was after, I think she wanted some dude or something like that. I can't remember now. But she also blamed it on black men. Why? Because the people believe that. The police are more likely to believe that story initially. And so that has been the case for generations. So fortunately, in this situation with her, they got her. Like the police did their job and they looked into it, and it was caught. And the situation where the other lady recently did that, same thing. They saw video of her this lady attempting to push her autistic son into this, I think it's like basically a storm reservoir, storm canal. It had water, and she took off running and asking for help and complaining that because her son is not able to talk. He's autistic, and he has it to the point where he's not able to speak. Well, so somebody saved him and got him out. And an hour later, she did it again at a different location, and he didn't make it. Right? So, but she claimed that it was some black men that were doing that did that. They stole her car and all this other stuff and blase, blase, blah, right? Because society is typically going to believe that. When we're looking at Amy Cooper, she complained that basically because this man told her to put her dog on a leash, which is required in most cities in America, you have to have your dog on a leash. Now, I know plenty of people who don't. Do that. And if you were to call animal control on them, they're going to be upset. But you're breaking the law and you're expecting other people to just deal with your animal. And in this situation, they were in a certain part of Central Park. And so he told her that she needs to put her dog on a leash, and he even gave the dog a treat, because typically when there's dogs that aren't on a leash, he does that to kind of calm the dog down and that type of thing and all of that, because dogs are going to be dogs. And if you have an owner that didn't raise the dog correctly or train the dog correctly, that dog could bite someone just because. Even though it's not on its home turf, if you're close to their owner, they may end up biting you. So I could see why he would have something like that. Well, she ends up threatening to call the police. And of course, she gets on 911 and she tries to do this aggravated call. You could tell that in her tone of voice, she's trying to sound more frantic. Because obviously, on the phone, they're going to hear a white woman in distress, and she's saying that she's going to tell the police that it's a black man that's attacking her and this, that, and the other, because she knows that the police will come quick and be ready to do whatever they think they need to do. However, the problem with that, unlike with Amy, where's her name? Susan Smith. Unlike Susan Smith, which there was no cameras, there was no cell phones to capture anything, and she did it in an area nobody could check. Unlike that, today people have access to cell phones and instead of camcorders. Camcorders were expensive back in the day. Nowadays, they're still kind of pricey, but people have a very high quality camera on their phone, typically, if they have a modern phone. And so he did exactly what he should have did. He didn't sit there and argue. I give tips about what young black men should do for a reason. Because out of anybody, we're public enemy number one. Even in terms of other people of color. There's a discussion even on Facebook about this. I've had, even here in Seattle, an Asian guy. He was a student. I was walking near campus. He walked completely off the sidewalk and got back on the sidewalk farther down. Walked into traffic. This is a busy area of where the university is. It's not exactly the university, but there's a lot of students there. Even here, down in Parkland, it was at nighttime. There was an Asian guy. He did the same thing. Walked, and I'm thinking, if I really wanted to catch up to you, all I have to do is run. You think walking off the sidewalk is going to do something? But they're conditioned to believe that black men are this scary thing, even though more than likely in that area that I was, more than likely it wouldn't be somebody like me bothering him, it would be someone else. But people are stupid. And stupidity is not just at black folks or at white folks. There are black folks who are stupid too, as well as Asians and Hispanics. There's plenty of stupidity. Plenty. And what's crazy is folks like that, there are people of color, fight against their own interest. Instead of, not being stupid because he's afraid of me, he's actually making things harder for him, because when things like what's going on now, because I believe both men were Chinese, I believe, right? I believe. I'm not just saying that based on generalizations, but generally, I can kind of tell, right? I can tell, unlike there are some Asian people who can tell you the difference between a Japanese person, Chinese person, Korean person, Filipino, Vietnamese, right? I'm able to kind of do that too, only because my first wife was saying, well, this is what you notice, this is what you notice, this is what you, and I'm like, oh, okay. So now I can kind of tell. Sometimes I can't, but in both of those instances, it seemed like both of them were Chinese men. Right? And so unfortunately, some people think, in our condition, that black people are just savages. See what I'm saying? When you have a situation like this is someone who was probably born and raised in America, who knows the history of America, who knows that calling the police probably is going to end up in a situation where this gentleman could have been harmed or killed. And she was using her privilege. Now, there may be some people that don't like this, and that's totally okay, because I don't do things for people to necessarily enjoy or like. I don't, like on Facebook, I'll say what I want to say. If you don't like it, you can move on. There are some YouTubers, and I know a few that come to mind that are big YouTubers who really and truly speak not at all about this, and they're people of color. They don't speak about issues like this, yet this is something that also greatly impacts them, and they won't speak on it because they're afraid of alienating or possibly alienating people and making white people upset or black people upset or Hispanic or Asian people upset. But if people are going to be upset over the truth, that's not my problem. That's a reflection on them. You may not have to like what someone has to say. There are certain times there are facts that I don't like. There are facts even in the black community that I don't like. But it's the reality. There are facts. And I'll speak on those. And in this situation, a big problem in America is that white people and black people are just as segregated now as they've always been. I mean, go to any school in America and you'll see how black and white kids, self-segregate. I've talked about that. You go to a lot of people's Facebook page and you'll see mostly, unless they're people of color, a lot of the white folks I look at on my page, you'll see mostly white people. This is just reality. I'm not saying all white people, but the vast majority. And the problem with that is that it's an echo chamber. Because if people look like you, and everybody looks like you, and you're only around people that look like you, all around people who are in your same area, it's an echo chamber. Yeah, people may have a little bit of a difference of opinion, but it's an echo chamber. And that happens all across America. So in this situation, this person, Amy Cooper, knew that calling the police on him probably could have led to something that was bad for him. But because he was smart and easily pulled out his phone, he didn't argue with her. There are some people some black folks will tell you, well, you should, get up in her face and argue and do this and that, which is stupid. No, why waste your time and why give the police extra stuff to use against you? Because that's exactly what she's looking for. There are some people who are looking for you to be provocative. They expect if they call you the N-word, or they expect if they sit here and heighten the situation or whatever, that you're going to show out. And there are some black folks that will give them that. And that's just stupid, in my opinion. Because you could easily do what he did, and some people will ridicule what he did and say, well, he should have did more, he should have did this, that. That's not how you act as a civilized person. The way Mr. Christian Cooper handled it is the way you act as a civilized, educated person. And he videotaped most of the whole situation. And it showed how horrible of a person that Amy Cooper is. She's just trash. Doesn't matter what income bracket she's in. Doesn't matter that she's in New York City. Trash is trash no matter where it is. Doesn't matter what color it is, what size it is, none of that. Trash is trash. Now, instead of using trash, I now call people vomit. Like that. That's vomit. And so instead of showing out, he basically turned the camera on her to show exactly what was needed and for her to call the police. So therefore, when the police come, you can easily say, look, have your phone out. So when the police do come, say, look, I have everything on the phone. Just take a look at the phone, because they're going to say, what happened here? What's going on? Just take a look at the phone and see what transpired, because she's going to give her view, and her view is probably going to counteract his heavily. She called, so she's got the benefit of the doubt automatically. He's a black dude, she's a white chick. In America, she automatically has the benefit of the doubt. Everything's stacked against him until you show video, because once you have video, the best thing to do, and this is some advice I would give to black men in public, no matter who you're around. I've said this before about when women get onto an elevator and get off, especially if it's a white woman, because anything can be said, right? This isn't an attack against all white women. I say that because sometimes when I talk about different instances, I'm like, this is not an attack against this particular, because it's not. It's not. But unfortunately, this is how society is. And so there are reasons why I say I get off the elevator. I make sure that there's cameras present because I want there to be evidence someplace else other than myself that shows exactly what happened. And he was in a situation in a forested area where there's not going to be cameras, but he had his own. And basically, this woman not only ended up not having the dog that she wasn't really taking good care of and able to control, the dog wanted to get away from her, but she ends up getting fired as well. So it's like you wasted the police time and effort and energy when they could be spending it on something else, and you're risking people's lives here because of what's going on. The cops have to show up in a situation where people are getting close to each other just to look at the situation because you have someone who's butthurt because he told her to basically follow the law. And she felt like, how dare you, someone that looks like you, tell me what to do? There's this false sense, there's this delusional sense of some people in America who think that white is right, and not only in America, there are other people. When you say, what do you see as an American? They're going to say blonde hair, blue eyes. You can go to plenty of Asian countries, and that's American to them. They don't see not all, but a good chunk of the population. They don't see anybody else as American. And that silliness is the reason why when you come here, there are some people who don't view them as American. Even though there are people born and raised here who are Asian or Hispanic, people don't see them as American because of just this dual stupidity, right? But in this situation here, it's kind of like, why are you telling me, who are you to tell me what to do? So she got mad, and it cost her a whole lot of heartache. It didn't cost him anything because he handled it the right way. It could have went completely different. And thankfully, the police did not jump to complete, utter chaotic conclusions on this. But literally, he was able to record this person who was aggressive. She walked up to him. That's the other thing. She was the aggressor. She walked up to him. During this time of what's going on, she walked up to him and was getting up into his face. So not only does this person have anger issues, you can tell by her being aggressive to a stranger. She also, as she was making the phone call towards the end there, just her aggressive tone to 911, she wants to flip the script and say that this man is threatening her life, which is a lie. She made a false police report. So probably that's going to be investigated too, and it should. It should. So my opinion is, definitely, if you are a black person in general, always have good space on your phone. Even live stream it if you have to. And always have a good fully charged battery on your phone, because that is the America that we live in. And even when I go out to just mow the grass, I have my phone on me. I don't trust anybody. People say that's paranoid, but whatever. I do. And to some people, they think if I say I'm going to call the police, I've had a neighbor, because the kids were being loud, or kids and neighbor kids were being loud. So when we first got here, I'm going to call the police, because they think that because there's a Hispanic family, the police are going to just haul them off to immigration, and that, they didn't even know much about us. But it's like, no, I'm going to call the cops on you. And I did. And the cops were like, well, if it's just kids playing, I'd probably go out there and play with them. I remember innocently coming down by the Dome District. I came the wrong way because the way that they have the signage is stupid. And it's confusing. So this one guy, you went the wrong way. If a cop saw you, it's like that's the first thing that some white people run to. And in a situation like this, sometimes it backfires. And so this is an example of where it backfired. Right? You have other instances like George Floyd where it goes the complete opposite. And I believe in that circumstance, in that situation, every inch of the law should be after those 4 officers, hands down. Again, I don't care about thumbs up, thumbs down. this, whatever. You're going to always have someone behind us. And I've said this before, not to be rude, but I'm one of those people who really don't care. People can issue their comments and their thoughts, and it's just words on a screen. I don't know anybody that's going to come up to me and say what they want to say in terms of a disagreement, but they can push a thumbs down. I'm thumbs down it, please. Still not going to change the fact this video goes up. Still not going to change the fact this video is still going to be here. And still not going to change how I feel. And still not going to change the facts. The facts are, there are some people who think that literally, if you do this and if you go against me, even though I'm in the wrong, I'm gonna call the cops. And to me, it shows that this is someone who's a bigot. And it's great that the mayor called that out too. That this lady in Central Park was a bigot. And she thought, because bigotry doesn't mean if you say the N-word that you're a bigot. That's not always the case at all. It's in your actions. It's in your thought process, your ideas, your viewpoints. So her view was, how dare you tell me what to do? And I'm going to make sure I talk about the fact that there's a black person who is attacking me. So anyhow, hope you like this video. If you don't, that's cool too. Make sure you share it, join our Discord, and until next time, I will see you. Take care.